Apostle John Henry Smith addressed the congregation. He said he had arisen without having reflected as to the subject or topics upon which he should speak. The instructions given thus far during the conference have been of a character to encourage us in making efforts to keep the commandments of God. The testimonies that have been borne should cause those who have not yet obtained a knowledge for themselves of the truth of the work they are connected with, to strive to gain that great boon. The times are pregnant with great lessons that can be deduced from affairs abroad in the earth and those at home. The existing condition ought to be a cause of rejoicing. The voice of jealousy is being hushed among us. The causes that would have tended to our segregation as a community are disappearing, while those which lead to a cementing of interests are increasing. Union is the necessary result of persecution. This is the opposite effect desired by those who resort to it. This work we are engaged in is but in infancy. The period of our existence is the epoch of patriotism. The fire of that sentiment which has characterized our fathers is being caught up by the children. In regard to the sufferings of those who have been placed in jeopardy and suffered imprisonment, they have created in them no spirit of fear. Such things but increase the desire of the true Latter-day Saint to act well his part to the end. Some people hold that it requires more heroism to meet death than to face those wrongs which are being heaped upon the community. He that suffers patiently the penalties placed upon him for sustaining conscientiously those principles he holds to be right is truly courageous. It is more difficult to act thus in a moment of enthusiasm to sacrifice life in an important issue. The ends of the present struggle are not to be gained by giving up life, although it should not be withheld should necessity demand. They are to be attained by a patient, patriotic, determined meeting of obstacles, and making self-denying sacrifices in life for the cause of truth. Occasionally weak people adopt the heroic method by throwing their lives in the balance by a resort to arms, and they are destroyed. History has exhibited this method of dealing with conflicting questions. How much more prolific of good has been the course of those who have confronted oppression with peaceful yet not less determined means. The enemies of the saints desire nothing more earnestly than that they should lay aside their peaceful and patient aspect and commit some overt act by a resort to physical force. It would form an excuse to attack them with the same means. The feelings in the hearts of not a few of our young people are not what they should be. Perhaps this result has been produced by dereliction of duty on the part of the parents. One of the principal sentiments that should be deeply embedded in the minds of the young is a sacred regard for chastity. Moral purity should, in this community, be esteemed as more to be prized than life. There are some members of the community who have become tainted with the evils which are dragging the world down upon the road to destruction. The necessity of keeping all the plain commands of God should be duly considered. There should be a strict regard for truth, falsehood being no part of the characteristics of a follower of Christ. But a sin of that description is more susceptible of correction than a breach of the laws of purity. No person who breaks his covenants by unchaste conduct can ever recover his original condition. Those who fail by the commission of such an offense can never fully wipe out the foul blot. It is a crime against which the flat of Jehovah has been hurled. Adultery, which casts men to perdition, stands next in point of infamy to murder. Of all earthly genius and powers there is no faculty which God has given to man equal in point of desirability and excellence to that which enables him to beget his species. A special woe is pronounced against him who corrupts it. He who does so entails upon himself and others horrible consequences. All the young should be deeply impressed with the necessity for the preservation of personal purity. That crime, from the standpoint of a Latter-day Saint, stands next to the shedding of innocent blood. The murderer has not eternal life abiding in him. The youth should be careful in relation to the taking of life. This does not refer to one who slays the dealer of his wife, daughter, or sister. If any people on earth have exhibited charity to the human family, it has been the Latter-day Saints. They have traveled on land and sea to do good to others. This has been done while they have been trampled upon, abused, maltreated in every shape. This reception tendered to them has not quenched the desire in their hearts to do good to the people of the earth. So great has been the exhibition of this spirit that they have been driven 5 times from their homes. Yet never has a people shown less of a spirit of retaliation. The patience of the saints has been tried to an extraordinary degree of late. The privacy of their home circles has been ruthlessly and brutally invaded. Tender women and children have been insulted, and sufferings have been heaped upon innocent people. The enemies of the saints have blighted homes, spread terror and pain and sorrow. They have not done those things ignorantly. They have known what they have done. They do know what they are doing now. But while we are wronged, we must not take into our hands the task of avenging ourselves upon those who are guilty of these things. We must feel that they are in the hands of God, and that we would do them good if it should be within our power. The speaker concluded by an exhortation to the people to use an influence against the use of all profane language in the community. The elimination of this evil should be undertaken as a specialty labor by the Church, in the various stakes and wards. He also bore a strong testimony to the divine mission of Joseph Smith, and the work of which he was the honored founder, and with which we have the honor of being identified.